Welcome to the Confidently Balance Your Hormones podcast. My name is Dee Davidson, and I'm a hormone health expert, master mindset coach, and multiple wellness business entrepreneur. I'm obsessed with helping you experience hormone balance, confidence, self-love, and live a life full of joy. I know we're about to have so much fun together, so thank you so much for pushing play today. And now let's begin. Welcome back to the Confidently Balance Your Hormones podcast. This is your guide, Dee Davidson, and I am stoked, if you will, about my guest today. Her name is Sherry. Sherry and I connected through the Boston Business Women's Network. Probably, I've been in there like a year and a half now, probably about a year ago now, and we just hit it off right away. We're very much in alignment. She's a psychotherapist, a life navigation coach, and what she calls a next step advisor. She guides her therapy clients through challenges such as ADHD, burnout, dysfunctional family dynamics, substance use recovery, parenthood, drawing on her holistic professional training, as well as her own journey with ADHD and 26 years of sobriety and overcoming burnout. So I think this will be relatable for anyone really that listens to it. We've all been affected by these topics, and her life navigation coaching work centers around teaching high achieving executive and entrepreneurial ADHD moms to manage their minds and their health. And that's how they can really regain control of their lives, be present for their families, and enhance their efficiency at work, which I believe is the rippling effect out to the collective. And outside of work, Sherry is a person too. She has her own likes and interests. She enjoys spending time with her husband, her 3 boys, on the slopes in the Sunday River in the winter, or on the beaches in the Fire Island in the summer. And she's still forever bumping Wu-Tang and deep house music. I love that. See, like you're definitely right. I sometimes play that music for Michael, and he's like, what the heck is this? But hey, it's who I am, and I fully embrace it, right? So she's driving around in a minivan. Funny, Michael and I were in town last night and went to an event, and I called an Uber, and it was in a minivan. I was like, oh, I haven't been in a minivan in a long time. So I think that's amazing that you're bopping around in a minivan. You can check her out on her website. I'll put everything in show notes, and also her LinkedIn. And she has a YouTube channel coming. We'll maybe end the episode talking a little bit about her YouTube channel. But I've gone on and on and on. I want you to meet this fabulous, beautiful soul. And I know this conversation is going to lead to amazing places. So welcome, Sherry. Thank you for taking the time to share today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dee. I'm so happy we met, and we are, like you said, so in alignment about so many things, which is such a nice bonus. And not that we agree on every single thing, but it's a bonus.
That's okay. I love that we can have
that's the best part.
Conversations, right? And be all right and honor each other and say, hey,
exactly.
I have respect and honor where you're at and your values. And that's a big thing, especially we're not going to get into election talk, but we were just talking about the election, and it's important that we come together as a collective in humanity and put our differences aside and say, hey, let's just continue to make the world a better place, because we can still coexist in more love. Like I've told my kids since they were toddlers, like we need more love in the world, more kindness. And just want to get that message out that there are a lot of people hurting, and just sending so much love. And I love that you and we're not 100% aligned. I don't think anyone is. We're always going to have our differences, but we can, have love and respect for each other.
Completely. And find commonality and focus on the commonality. That's I feel like
I think most of us want a better world for ourselves, for our kids, for the future, right?
I think so.
I think we all have that commonality. The way we get there might be difference of opinion, but
exactly.
Spreading love. So thank you so much. So let's first, before we get into like sharing some questions, I just want to tell you, I told you a little bit before we hit the record button that I was very excited when I was reminded this week that you were on the calendar to record this, because I've been having some of my own downloads, if you will, and shifts in my practice. For those of you who have been following me for a while, maybe you're brand new, I started my practice with looking at nutrition and teaching people how to eat healthy and whole foods and exercise and moving your body. And I even have an exercise program on my website that I still just have out there because I created it. So why not put it out there for people? But then I evolved to realizing, like, yes, I can give you all of the foundational things, which at the end of the day, no matter what lab you get or what diagnosis you get, I still tell my clients we have to go back to the foundational things because those are principal things of health and vitality and prevention and all of that. What you eat, move, toxins, all of that. That's very important. But through my practice and growing my own knowledge, I start to realize that, hey, we can do these things, but at the end of the day, many people have hidden stressors that we can only reveal with functional lab testing. And so I went back to school to be able to not just order labs because it drives me crazy. Anyone can, like, I think Dr. Hyman right now, you can order labs and people come to me with them and they have no freaking idea what to do other than he says, and I like Dr. Hyman, but it's like you're giving people access to stuff that can be dangerous because they're doing their own Dr. Google and just buying a bunch of supplements from the people selling the lab tests. They're just like, oh, this came up, take this. And I wish it was that easy. I left a Voxer for a client this morning saying, like, we have to have some trust and use our intuition and better judge how we're feeling and what steps we need to take and what's working, what's not working. We've gotten so away from self and trusting our intuition that, like, I wish it was that easy that you take a test and here's the supplements and now you feel great, right? And I know you get this because you're doing the self stuff with therapy and the inner work and all of that and unboxing things. So I'm saying all of this because now, years into my practice and working with people on health in general, what I keep realizing is people come to me because they know, like, and trust me as they do with you. But I have to reflect on, like, my own healing journey. And, like, without the therapy piece and the mindset piece and the unboxing that you and I do, you can't ever really achieve whole health healing. Would you agree?
Yeah, I fully agree. I just, as you know, but maybe some listeners don't know, just posted a post on a very Facebook group recently and on my own Facebook about that without the cognitive pieces are not enough. It's the holistic mindset, subconscious work, getting rid of whatever limiting beliefs. I don't like that term. I mean, it's a very useful term to
Sure.
say, but I find it's like very I think trendy
Yes.
kind of on social
Okay.
media. And so I find like limiting beliefs like it sounds like trite almost, but
I think it's
I don't know what
relatable
else.
because people know what that means, right?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, and knowing, being able to, like, doing that, which takes work, isn't fun, necessarily. Like, hopefully you can find some joy in it, but it's often painful because you hold on to those.
Mm-hmm.
But without that piece, like you're saying, we were just talking about off the air is like, it's very hard to do whatever it is that you want to change in your behavior. And if you don't have behavioral change, your actions, your thoughts do not dictate your life. It's your actions.
That's right.
For so if you're wanting to, lose weight, as to your previous iteration of your business, without this other piece, I think that's why we connected originally, because we
Yeah.
were both on that tip.
Same page. Yeah. And so to bring light to why I'm talking about this, because the title of this podcast episode, I don't know what it's going to be yet, but it's something about boundaries, and we're going to talk about the holidays coming up, and a lot of people have loosey-goosey boundaries, which I say just overflows into what manifests in their health. So that's what we're going to get to. So hang on with us, because there's a point of me talking about all this is that what really, in sitting my own meditations and my own downloads and really my own realizations, is that I feel like this podcast, my marketing around hormones and whole health and the physical symptoms that manifest, are the vehicle right? It's just a vehicle that brings people in front of me. But what I've really been unpacking is what's the other piece of my practice that I don't talk about as much on podcasts and posts and things like that we need to be talking about is that when people come to me, they come with the physical ailments, and certainly we might run some functional labs and we might talk about nutrition. That's all important foundationally, but we have to come back to self and we have to say like, all right, how do I return home to the person that like I'm here to be, and what things have I abandoned, and where are my boundaries, which we're going to talk about today, loose, and how do I just begin one foot in front of the other of like, all right, Dee or Sherry brought all of this stuff to awareness, which I think is what you're talking about, right? Like you have to be aware first, because a lot of our
Right.
clients aren't even self-aware. So we bring it to the surface. And some things people can start working on now, and other things like, hell no, I'm not going there, which I hear all the time. And I know you do, right? But
Yes.
because it can be painful, and we have to be ready to go through that process in order to start peeling back that onion and live in that true state of health, which is not just you look good on the scale or your clothes or people look at you and think you look good, but you feel it. It's a different way that ripples out, that people see you, they feel your energy, they feel your light, if you will. That's just a different type of vitality, mind, body, spirit. So it does start with some of the things that we're talking about today, which number one is a lot of people, especially women, have real hard time with boundaries. And so I thought, boundaries, who do I want to talk about with that? Sherry, she's our girl. And so there's no accidents as I'm unpacking my own business and seeing where it's evolving and what things are keep coming up over and over again, that you're here today and we're recording this. And I invite the listener to just sit, for a couple of minutes after this and go, what resonated with me? And maybe where can I start, being aware a little bit more, and what shifts might it be able to make? And I don't know, it'll take them wherever it takes them. But anyways, you talk about boundaries as something that we set for ourselves rather than others, right? So that's
Yes.
something I I spoke at a conference, and it was funny. The guy who introduced me, he said, and I'll tell you, Dee's really great about boundaries, trying to get on her calendar. I get a text back. And for a long time, I thought boundaries were bitchy. I actually wrote a blog post about that because I'm like, oh, I don't know how many perceived but I love that you say, like, we're setting this for ourselves and for our own well-being. And I'd love to hear, like, your explanation, because I know my take on it, but can you explain a little bit about why that's important and what does that mean? Why are we setting it for ourselves, not others?
Yes, thank you. I can say I did not understand this in my own life for many years. Like, and I try, I used to try to set boundaries and they wouldn't work. And the reason that when I say they wouldn't work, I mean, I'd think I was setting them, and I really did think so. I was doing the best I could with the information I had at the time. And I think that's what most people are doing, is doing that's my belief that most people are doing the best they can in any given
Absolutely.
moment,
Totally.
consciously or not.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and so I was doing what I thought was how to do it, but then I'd either like set them or think I was setting them and then blow through them, or they, in my mind, they wouldn't work, and they weren't working because I was not setting them for myself. I was telling other people, you know I'll use my family members, like, you can't talk to me like that. Well, sure, they can, and they will.
Right.
Like
And they
me
will
saying that.
continue to. They will
Yeah, yeah,
continue to, right?
it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
What is the boundary is it's clarifying what's not okay for us, not what's not okay for them. So in my mind, it's not okay for them to talk to me that way. But what's the actual boundary is, when you talk to me that way, if you're gonna keep talking to me that way, I'm gonna hang up. If you're gonna keep talking to me that way, I'm
Consequence.
gonna leave this conversation. Yeah. And so boundaries are protecting our own needs. Like, I need to feel safe in a conversation. Otherwise, when I don't, I go into freeze mode and I can't think, and And I'm just, some people go into, flight and get angry. And I go into freeze mode. My physiology generally, that's not every time, but generally that's how it goes. And so I want to, this is just one random example, but I want to feel safe in a conversation. And my need that that's what I'm trying to protect. And so how do I protect that defining what I'm going to do and then following through on that. That's later. We can talk more about that later on, but that's a kind of key piece of it is following through
Actually
on that.
doing it.
So I'm sorry.
Actually doing it.
Yeah, actually doing it. And so, which is hard when you're not, it takes practice. It's like any other people, right? They call meditation a practice. You practice sports to get good. You're not good at it if you've not done it because you haven't practiced enough. And
Right.
so I saw some meme the other day. I don't remember the guy's name. I wish I did because I like to give people their credit. But it said something like that, something like you're not, it said basically that you're not good at it yet because you haven't put in the time. And it's the practice. And so anyway, so it's clear, for work boundaries, like common ones, people responding to emails at all hours of the night because that's the culture of their work. And so the boundary isn't don't email me, don't call me after 7. The boundary is if you call, I don't take calls after 7. I don't respond to emails after 7. I'll get back to you at after 9 a.m. or after whatever you pick and when you're clear about it, it's useful in terms of what's you're doing or not doing.
And I
Um,
think the more that we do it, the more people get it, right? Like, okay, she's
yes,
really not going to respond to this message or, whatever
yeah,
the
you have
thing
to
is,
hold the
or is
line because
not going to respond. And even for people that have done the same thing over and over again and not followed through, you can still change that. Like
yes,
you can tomorrow decide that's it. Like, and people will maybe not like it at first, but they'll start to respect it and say, okay, like it's changed. Like she's not doing this anymore.
yes, they will notice over
Yes, they will
time, just
notice.
like you
And that's
said,
where
and
my
it does.
boundaries, I'd always felt like I was bitchy because I'm like, oh my God, like now I'm coming from this place. And especially we have feminine energy, right? And sometimes setting boundaries might feel masculine to us and it might feel off balance, but giving ourselves permission to do that. Because when you talk about like the people who are staying up late to, answer emails or they're taking calls outside of hours or they're just not breathing or taking time to eat their lunch off a
Yes,
Zoom
that's a big
or,
one.
being mindful of what's going on. That's where, people go, well, I don't really get how that manifests in my health. That's where I come in, right? To say, well, your cortisol is causing all of this stuff to happen because cortisol is always that weak, weak link and operating out of the fight or flight. So boundaries are so important, not just for our own self-preservation, if you will, but they help us to maintain a healthy environment within too, because your body is in that fight or flight state, which is never good. So for someone who has never set strong boundaries before, and I know I wanted to record this because the holidays are coming up and there's something about the holidays. And I know a lot of people, they can avoid seeing their family, if you want to use the word avoid, right? Or don't have to see them as often or have the dynamic of maybe they see just their parents or just their sibling, but everybody being in that atmosphere. And there's a lot of emotions that come up that don't come up other times of year. There's a lot of anxiety around it. I hear with my clients and peer pressure to eat things they certainly wouldn't eat,
Oh yeah.
drink alcohol to feel comfortable, traditions, all of that seems to be especially challenging around the holidays. So for someone who I hear like this is, I know you'll appreciate this. I hear like, oh, I've never been good at setting boundaries, or not, I'm sorry, I'm not good at setting boundaries. So when we're creating the new identity, I try to get people to realize they're creating a new them, not who they are, right? Their beautiful soul, but a new identity around habits. And so I'll say, can we not say like I'm not good at setting boundaries and say in the past I haven't been good at setting boundaries, right?
Yeah, it's
So
a
let's
important
change the
distinction.
narrative, right? Change the narrative around it. So for these people who are like, oh, I'm not good at setting boundaries, or I haven't been good at it in the past, or I never stick to it, like, how can they start to work on this before they go to Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever, Hanukkah, things they're celebrating? How can they start to do this, and how can they expect to see things shift?
So, just on a, I guess it's all part of this. On a side note, the reason that the setting of boundaries for yourself, like we were just talking about for yourself versus for the other, you're setting the boundary for the other person, is because it puts the focus on what you can control. And the
Mm,
only thing that we can
love
control
that.
in our lives is them. Yeah, is
Love
ourselves.
that. Right, right.
Is so we can't, that whole serenity prayer, I don't know if people know it, but that whole like 12-step program, they say it, a lot is, accept the things I cannot change, which is other people, places, and things, and the courage to change the things I can, which is myself. We can only control ourselves,
So true.
and that's wisdom to know the difference. That's the difference is really so. I love what you were just saying about the language piece, about getting your clients to stop saying like I've never been able to set boundaries, or I've and putting
In
it
the
in
past, in the
the
past.
past, because language is word. I talk often with my clients about like it's actions that actually what I'm doing now is going to be the results I'll see in with health, say like whatever I'm doing, like if I don't sleep enough now, which is sometimes a problem, like this is I'm going to see the effects of this in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years.
Sure.
Maybe I shorten my life by a couple of years. I don't, whatever, like so it's actions that are making it or being the map for my life, not thoughts. However, I do think very much that language, I really do believe, I've learned this from other people, and fully I'm on board believing it, that language helps create those actions differently. So if I say I've never, been good or never am good at setting boundaries, I could change that sentence to something to the effect of, I'm learning how to set boundaries. And there's a very different, um, I'm learning how to do it. That means it's possible. That means there's
Yeah,
hope. That means
love
like
it.
I can do it. And it's a simple sentence shift.
Hmm.
Um, like I actually just recently did this with food, and I'm sorry, I'll sidetrack just for a second, then I'll
Yeah.
go back to the boundaries.
Good.
Is like I kept saying, I can't stop having a snack after dinner. I can't stop having a snack after dinner. And I was like learning and really kind of thinking a lot and writing about this language change stuff in terms of new action and new habits. And I was like, what could I say instead? Because like, it's kind of like if I say, don't look at that blue
Yeah,
picture,
that's like a
I'm gonna
child,
look
right?
at
Like, don't look into the red light laser beam.
yeah.
I'm looking at it. I'm not blind, Mom.
Yes, yes, exactly. So I said, okay, what can I can say, I stop eating at 8 o'clock. So I made this shift instead of I can't stop eating after like snack after I have to have a snack after dinner. I told myself I stop eating at 8.
Mm-hmm.
Total shift. I literally haven't, I'm not saying it's never gonna happen, but I haven't had this has been a few weeks. It's not like it's been like a lifetime, but
No, it's
um
it's a shift that you haven't seen before, which is
yes. And
the
so
belief that it can change.
exactly. And so boundaries are the same. You can say, I'm learning how to set boundaries, and that can give you the and when you set boundaries with, especially like let's talk if it's okay around, as you were brought up, around the holidays.
Yeah.
Um, you know, as you start to set boundaries around the holidays, um, with family in particular, maybe friends, but usually with around family, and it can be challenging, and it will not feel comfortable, and not obviously often, um you'll face a lot of resistance
Mm.
or confusion, especially if it is new, that you're
Mhm.
you're doing something different.
Yes.
Families, everybody has their role, right? And so when you decide, you know what, I'm going to play a new role. I'm not playing this role
Who are
anymore.
you?
Yeah, it messes up the whole set, mess
Yes.
up the whole movie because you're not acting how you're supposed to be, what
Right.
they're used
In
to
your character role.
in your character role, exactly. And so people get upset, and it often feels worse and gets sometimes worse. People kind of what's it called, like lash out or
Shout, yeah.
lash back, or
Make
they
you feel that you're the problem.
often, not always, but
Right.
often, and they're allowed to feel upset just as you're
Sure.
allowed to create your sense of. I mean, if you're setting the boundary, if you're saying, I'm not coming this year, one really good thing you can do actually is to set up something else instead. Like I have a client who just could not go this year for she's been doing it for 45 years, going to her life, being at this Thanksgiving with her family, never feels good, comes back, has like a 3-day emotional hangover every time, and is just she
Drained.
just decided she didn't want drained, and it's just she doesn't want to do it, and it's not. They end up last holiday, I think they ended up, one of these crazy chaotic fighting and screaming, and it's not what she wants to do. She doesn't have the energy to do that. So she said she's not coming, but what she decided to do, which I thought was quite brilliant, was she set it up that she's having people from her, I don't church or temple or whatever she was part of. She set it up that she's doing that. Like she had people who didn't have a place to go. She arranged for them to come to her for Thanksgiving. And so she said, sorry, I'm hosting a group of people from my place of worship that doesn't have with people who don't have any place to go
Oh.
for Thanksgiving this year. And that was awesome because it provided her support for herself, because
Hmm.
that's a key thing of when you start setting boundaries and with your family in particular, and you haven't done it before, people probably will get upset and lash out and say things you don't that are hurtful sometimes, or just, I don't know, people have all their different ways of being. Um, Having support that you can call, or just literally support around you on that day where you would be at.
Being prepared for that
That,
possibility.
yes, yes, and I don't want to forget to discuss, if it's okay, the evolutionary piece of this, the physiological piece of this. When people say like, "Oh, I feel so guilty. I feel so guilty."
Yes.
People who haven't historically, that is makes a lot of sense evolutionarily. So our feelings are, yes, I feel sad, you can speak it and name it in your mind, but they're in our bodies. I know we both
Right.
talk about they're in the physiology, they're in our bodies. And so historically, and I talk about this a lot, if you guilt is supposed to be useful. Guilt is an emotion that it's supposed to keep you in line, right? Because historically, evolutionarily, if you get out of line, you might get kicked out of the tribe, or you might
Sure.
get left behind. And if you get left behind or you're kicked out of the group, you are going to die, most likely. I'm talking
The
most
survival
likely.
mechanism.
Yes, it's a survival mechanism. And so it comes up when you feel, now we're not, hunter gatherers here, and our society has advanced like at rapid speed here, and especially recently, but your physiology is the same. Your cortisol is going up. You probably know better than I about the physical part of this, but
Inflammation and stress and all of that. It starts to break
yeah,
down your body.
yes, and you feel guilty. That's there to protect you,
Right.
but it doesn't mean that you're doing the wrong thing.
Yes. So true. So true. That's a great point. And so I know we're coming up on our time, but
Yeah.
so for the people that are feeling anxious about going, like they're not the people that are gonna feel comfortable or be at the place of saying, hey, I'm going to have some people over, I'm going to change my plans or whatever the thing is, they're
Right.
not comfortable. They still feel like this is my family or this is the tradition and I need to go. Can we just end with like some resources or how can they prepare? This is coming out a couple weeks before Thanksgiving for those who celebrate. What can they do right now that will help them prepare for these situations that they're not going to completely like be able
Oh,
to
great
avoid?
question. So the two things I can think of just right off the top of my head. One is to, and this goes along with what we kind of the theme of in the eighth thread in the conversation is whatever you can do before you go to have your energy at its peak, your cup filled, like what finding you can't go in there with a deficit where you're already feeling horrible or so taking care, making sure, I mean, it sounds very simple, but taking care of your sleep, taking care of your body, eating well, even if you plan to eat all the stuff on Thanksgiving, which, whatever you plan, like taking care of yourself as much as you possibly can before going is one thing. Um, there's a couple books I think are great places to start with boundaries. One is called it was a very like New York Times bestseller for like many weeks, I think, at one point. Set Boundaries, Find Peace is one of them. But one of the books I think is the most helpful is not specifically about boundaries, but it's called Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. And it's a short book. It's like, a small book.
Got my attention. Tell me more.
Yeah. He just gives very clear strategies for how to interact with difficult people in your life, and how to frame boundaries even while you're sitting there in a dinner or in a situation. And I think I just find it really useful in there's clear like here's what to do and how to do it, kind of step by step tactics in it. And if I read one book before going to my family's Thanksgiving where I thought it was going to be completely overwhelming and take care of myself, I'd probably read that one. There's also a video you can put in the show
I'll
notes
put it in the
that's
show
a 20-minute video, and I find it very helpful. And it's about, if I can say one more quick thing, I don't know
Go
if
ahead.
we have time.
We're good.
But we talk a lot, you might too, and we were talking about this before the show, is about like being in alignment. And I think one of the key to sticking with your boundaries, and especially even in the moment, is figuring out your values. I have a very simple exercise I do with a lot of my clients to figure out their top three, say, values, 3 to 5. But once no figure out before you go to one of these holiday events where your boundaries may be pushed, figure out your top values, top 3 values, 5 values. You can reach out to me and I'm happy to help you do it within 10 minutes, if you need. But and then you can run all your decisions through that lens. So you can, in the moment, if you can calm yourself enough emotionally with, deep breathing and that type of stuff, think to
Sounds
yourself,
good.
sounds good, exactly. Is this bringing me closer or further? Is this bringing me in alignment with my values? Is what I'm going to say next? Is what I'm going to do next bringing me in alignment or out of alignment with my values? Because when things are in alignment, boundary wise or just in general, things flow and go easier with
Right.
interpersonal relationships too. And when
Right.
they're not, they just don't.
Right. And the key thing too is how does it feel? And this is when I really think about like how my whole practice connects to is I think so many people are disconnected, walking around disconnected
Yeah.
because we have so many outside influences now and access to so many things. It's like, maybe I should feel this, maybe I should do this, maybe I should be eating this, maybe I should be doing this kind of exercise. But I love that you said, like, does it feel in alignment? Because you can tell when it's flowing and it feels good
Yeah,
for you, not for the other person, right? But again, we
yeah.
respect other people, right? And we're not saying like, hey, it's all about you and be like self-righteous, but how does it feel for you and your core values and that word alignment is just so key. I love that.
Yes, and in the moment too, the other thing I try to do, and it helps with, is how can I act? How can I be? If I sometimes have to think to myself, okay, right now, this person, I can feel myself getting rageful or whatnot with certain,
Dysregulated.
yeah, dysregulated. I exactly. I I sometimes I'm like, how can I be right? How can I be loving right now? Both to myself and the other person. What can I do right now to be loving to this person? Even if
Right,
I'm hating them, not
right,
hating,
right,
like,
right.
how can I be loving? Maybe the loving thing that I can do is to say, I'm getting crazy right now, so I'm not, let's stop this conversation. Maybe that's the most
That's
loving thing
okay.
I can do. Or maybe the loving thing I can do is say, yeah, maybe you know what's a great thing to say? Maybe you're right. Doesn't mean they're right. Maybe you're
Move
right
on
is
from
a
it.
great de-escalating thing to
Yeah.
say.
Well, let's move on from it, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So there's things, how can I be loving to myself and to this person who I'm right now? What is it that I need to do and say?
Yeah.
So
Great.
that can help.
We all just want to be accepted, seen, heard, loved, all of those things, right? So
Yeah,
instead
100.
of being in conflict in a defensive way, maybe again come from a place of empathy and understanding that not everyone feels or has walked in each other's shoes. So let's just have some empathy. And even if it, a lot of times I'll just say that, to someone is, I hear you, right? Because we just have to
Yes,
hear it. I hear you, right? It's like I hear you. It doesn't mean I agree, but I hear you, or
exactly.
I
Yeah.
understand how you're feeling from their perspective. You haven't walked in their shoes, but that place of empathy. So that's some really great stuff. I know there are people that are going to be loving this episode and they're going to want to continue the conversation with you. Where can they connect with you for a conversation or learn more about you?
Probably the quickest place is my website. It's therapynewton.com. I also, LinkedIn is a good place. I'm on Facebook, and I'm going to start a YouTube channel in 2025 in the new year. So I'm
So
excited about that.
exciting.
So up and coming, you can connect me with me there as well.
Okay, and I'll drop all of that in the show notes. And one thing I think it's important because since COVID, people don't know, like, are you in person? Are you virtual? If anyone's wondering, how does your practice work?
Oh, yes. I see people in person and virtually. In person, I am in an office 1 day a week in Newton Center, Massachusetts. And and I also do walk and talk therapy, usually in a park or in a neighborhood or by the river. So some people love that. I love that. And it's a different dynamic, but that I do on other days of the week besides Wednesday when I'm in the office.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on today. And as you know, I adore you. And thanks for sharing your wisdom with everybody.
Thank you so much, Dee. This was so fun.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Confidently Balancing Your Hormones. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love for you to share it with a friend and also hit follow at the top of this podcast. If you have a couple of minutes and you can leave a quick review, it will help other women in need find this podcast. You can find me on Instagram at confidently_love_yourself. I would love to stay connected and hear from you.